What's up everybody? Welcome back to Unparalleled Universe for another action figure review, and today we're taking a look at the brand new Filix Toys 1/12 scale Inkblot. And obviously this is like a third-party interpretation of Rorschach from the Watchmen. And speaking of Watchmen, it's crazy to me how little action figure love Watchmen gets. You know, they've given us some stuff, like the DC Essentials line had some Watchmen figures, and then the DC Universe Classics line from Mattel had some Watchmen stuff, but that's about it. So it's kind of crazy because it's such a legendary comic, but it just doesn't really get love in the action figure world. And I know that's something that like Alan Moore is not into. He never really wanted to see like toys and shit like that from the Watchmen, but DC never really cared about his feelings or whatever. They did it anyways, but for some reason, like, they never really went all out with it. They just kind of gave us crappy versions of the characters from this. But luckily, this third-party company called Filix Toys has come around and found a way to give us basically a Rorschach figure, you know, and this thing looks awesome. So let's go ahead and get into it, starting off with this packaging. I really love this box because it's so small and compact, and it just looks nice. Check out this awesome artwork on the front, and the artwork is very similar to the old school Watchmen artwork by Dave Gibbons, so that looks nice. And I think this packaging is really cool. On the back we get some random information, and yeah, this looks and feels very high quality. Doesn't really come across as like a third-party thing, but you know, third-party stuff, the definition is kind of changed, because to me, when I used to think about third-party, I would just automatically think knockoff and low quality. But right now, third party just kind of, it's almost synonymous with like the best quality, but just like with a different name. That's kind of like what we have going on here. And you know what really opened my mind to the third party stuff is the Nada Toys James figures. Those are some of my favorite figures, and it just kind of kicked the door open for me. But yeah, check this out. The packaging is awesome. It's very small. Look how big it is compared to my phone. Like, it's tiny. I wish all companies would use tiny packaging like this that did a good job of storing all the accessories, because I'm probably going to keep this box to store the accessories, and it's not going to take up a whole bunch of space or anything. But anyways, enough about this box. Let's go ahead and open it up and take a look. Jeez, man, here he is right out of the box, and I don't even know what to say. This is a ridiculous figure. I did go ahead and put on his masked head because I didn't want him to like snap on me or anything like that. I didn't want to keep him without his face for too much time, but holy shit, this thing is so crazy. The soft goods are extremely well done. Everything feels very high quality and nice. Some of the joints were a little stiff, especially the upper thighs, but you know, I just hit them with the blow dryer and they loosened up, and now they're fine. But aside from that, this figure felt really good right in hand, and it's just amazing. There's so many great things going on here. At first, one thing that kind of crossed my mind was like, his jacket seems a little big, you know, and it is hard to get like very well tailored clothing on a 1/12 scale figure. But for Rorschach, the jacket looking a little big kind of works, because that's kind of how the character looked. He was a small guy in this big jacket, and he always kind of looked disheveled and kind of messed up. And so like, even though the jacket kind of looks a little funny sometimes on him, it just works for the character. I'm not saying like the soft goods are not tailored good or anything like that. They're tailored really nice, but when it comes to 1/12 scale figures, things often just look a little off. But in his case, it works, you know? It just looks so good and so accurate to the movie and comic. The buttons are glued on there very securely. I don't feel like they're gonna come off when I'm messing with them. He's got a bendy wire in the jacket belt, so you could kind of get him in some dynamic poses using those to make it look like they're kind of flying in the wind, or when you have them walking like in the rain with the wind going, you could have those things kind of flying off to the side. The jacket looks really nice. Oh man, you could remove the helmet, the hat, give him that look. Jeez, I'm like almost speechless. The detail on this guy is incredible. And even though there's not a whole lot of sculpting work or paint, the areas that did need that stuff, they did a great job on it. There's some really great detail on him. There's even different colors to the jacket. Look at that, how it kind of gets darker and then lighter and stuff. Man, this is an amazing figure. Like, I don't say that lightly. This is like mind-blowing. When I took him out of the box right away, I was like, holy shit, like what the hell? This thing is crazy. Because the promotional images looked great, but they almost looked a little too doctored, or a little too like CGI, or not CGI, but they looked like they were enhanced a little bit. They didn't look like straight up pictures of the figure. It looked like there was a little digital work going on. So you're never quite sure how the figure itself is going to turn out. But once I took it out of the box, I was like, this is even better than the promo images looked. So yeah, this thing is great. But let's get in close and take a look at the details on him. So starting from the top with the hat, as you can see, the hat sits very nicely on the head. And the hat is removable, which is nice. But what I really like about this is that once you press the hat down onto the head, it sits on there very securely and you don't have to worry about it falling off. Even if you shake the figure around quite a bit, the hat is going to stay in place. So they did a great job of making the hat fit on the head. And I think the hat looks nice too. I love the dark brown colors with the red band that wraps around the hat. I think it looks really nice and it's sculpted very well. So they did a great job with it. And then moving down into the face, he does have 3 different masked heads, but this is the one that we're going to look at right now. It kind of has like a face design on the face of the mask. So that's cool. And I like the way they sculpted the mask to have a cloth-like texture so it kind of matches with the rest of the figure. So they did a good job with that. And then moving down into the body, we do have the scarf that's kind of bunched up in front here that's tucked into the jacket. That looks nice. And then check out the stitching on here too. It's all very clean and small and it looks really nice. There's like no bad stitching on this figure. It all looks really good. And I like how the jacket has like different shades of brown in it. You know, it's a little darker right here and then it gets light down here and it kind of makes it look like it's a little old and worn and just dirty and grimy. So I like that a lot. And then we do have the buttons on the front here. The buttons are glued on. You don't have to worry about them falling off or anything. They're on there very securely. So those came out good. The belt here, as I mentioned, does have a bendy wire. So that's always nice. Check out all the clean stitching over here. And the hands are very well sculpted. They look really good. I like the color too. They kind of have like a brownish red cherry kind of color, you know. But they also have like a bit of a black wash in there. So the details on the hands are really nice. And the jacket does have pockets, as you could see. And I do have his hand in his pocket here, so you can see that it fits in there with no problem at all. Then moving down into the pants, I think the pants look really good too. As you could see, he has his iconic purple striped pants. I need to get myself some purple striped pants. I wonder where he got these. But yeah, those look really good. And then we have some very clean stitching on the inside. And moving down into the shoes, or the boots, these look really good too, and I like how they have multiple colors just like the jacket. Kind of makes them look worn and old, which is nice. And then check out this unnecessary but cool detail. He has socks. Like, why does he need socks? It's not like anyone's going to be pulling this up, but whatever. He has socks and it's awesome. And they're gray, which I don't know, seems like Rorschach would wear gray socks, right? But yeah, man, the details on this are just incredible. The soft goods are extremely well done. Everything is very clean. The stitching is very nice. Everything is very secure. Nothing feels like at risk of coming off or coming apart. The buttons kind of scared me at first when I started handling the figure because you kind of feel them. But, you know, they don't feel like they're going to fall off or anything. They feel really good. Just everything about the soft goods on this guy is really well done and just looks very clean and put together very nicely. So they did a great job with the way this figure looks. And not only is the figure itself ridiculous, it also comes with a crazy amount of ridiculous accessories. But let's start off with the simple stuff. First off, he does have 4 sets of hands. We have a pair of fists. We have a set of open relaxed hands. We have a set of tight gripping hands. And then he has a set of gripping hands that could be used to hold on to the various accessories that he comes with. And then he does have 4 different head sculpts. 3 of them are masked head sculpts, but all of them have different Inkblot designs on the face. And I think that is so cool because in the movie, the design on his face was constantly changing. So you could always switch it up with these 3 heads. And I think that's a very cool option that they included. And he does come with an unmasked head sculpt. And damn, look at this. This came out really nice. Obviously, it's based on the movie version of Rorschach. And this captures the likeness of Jackie Earl Haley perfectly, man. Look at that. Look at all the detail on it. I love the way the eyes look too, how they kind of have a reflective kind of quality. It's very lifelike. And look at the blood on his cheek. And he's got like a really nice looking 5 o'clock shadow. Got the reddish kind of hair with some highlights in it just to bring out the details and stuff. Oh, dude, look at that. This is one of the best 1/12 scale head sculpts I've ever seen. It's definitely up there with the Not a Toys James figure. But man, look at that. It's so ridiculous. I do wish that he came with an unmasked head sculpt that was screaming a little bit so we could recreate that last shot with him and Dr. Manhattan. But man, this is straight ridiculous. Man, yeah, this is definitely one of the best 1/12 scale head sculpts I've ever seen. By far, this is crazy. So they did a good job with this. Then aside from those things, we get some cool weapons, starting off with this grappling gun. And what I like about the grappling gun is that you could display it in a bunch of different ways. You could have it to where the grappling hook is retracted and just placed on the gun, or you could have it where the grappling hook is shooting a short distance, because it does come with these little bendy wires that you could use to place the hook on and just kind of display it like that. Or you could have it to where he's shooting the grappling hook a long distance, because it also comes with a really long bendy wire. So I think it's so cool that they gave us so many options just with that one gun. And next up, he does come with a lighter with the flame going all out of control, and he also comes with a hairspray can, so you can make it look like he's spraying the hairspray into the lighter, like he's gonna light someone on fire. And then he comes with this hatchet that he used to hack up the dogs, and in the movie he used it to hack up the dude that abducted the girl. And this thing is pretty crazy. As you can see, we have some blood along the blade, and it does look pretty nasty. And he does come with Rorschach's journal, and I like the way this is sculpted because they made it look like it's old and kind of beat up. The corners are bent a little bit, and it just looks very old and used. Looks aged, you know? It looks like he's been stuffing this thing into his jacket, running around, killing criminals and scum of the earth. Then he pulls this grimy ass book out and writes about it. So this thing came out very nice. And he does come with the rose that he took from the comedian's gravesite. And I think this is sculpted very nicely. It looks good, and he is able to hold it. And then lastly, probably the coolest accessory that he comes with, we have the smiley face pin with the blood stain on it. That is some iconic stuff. I love that they included this, and I just love all the accessories. And then now for some size comparisons, Rorschach is going to be a little lonely because I don't have any other Watchmen figures, so I'm just going to compare him with a bunch of other stuff. But here we have him alongside the Nada Toys James limo driver and the Nada Toys just James figure, aka Logan. But yeah, these guys look great together, and just the quality of these types of figures is mind-blowing. It's a step above pretty much like everybody. Like, these James figures are some of my favorite figures, and Rorschach is going to be right up there with these guys. Like, he's so incredibly well done, and it's crazy to see like these quote-unquote third-party companies give us such high-quality products. Like, these figures right here are a perfect example of the potential that those types of companies have, because they are straight killing it, man. All these are awesome. And then next up, we have him alongside the Mezco 112 Collective Vapor and the Mezco 112 Collective Street Gomez. And I would say that this Gomez and this Vapor are probably some of the best soft goods that we've ever seen from Mezco. I think they did a pretty great job on both of them. They do a great job on a lot of stuff, but these are some of their best figures in terms of like execution. And I would say that Rorschach's execution with the soft goods is just as good, if not better, than figures just like these guys. So it's really impressive. Next up, we have him alongside the Mezco 112 Collective Punisher and the Mezco 112 Collective Netflix Daredevil. And even though I think the size of Rorschach is fine, like he looks good alongside other 6-inch figures, a part of me kind of wishes that he was just a little bit shorter, because I just imagine that he's a small guy, and I would like if he was smaller than the rest of my 6-inch figures. But, you know, I'm fine with the way he scales with similar lines and 112 scale stuff, so it worked out fine. But shorter, I think, would have been cool. Next up, we have him alongside the Mezco 112 Collective Orlok and the Mafex Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse Peter B. Parker. And next up, we have him alongside the Mafex Hush Batman and the Bullet Head Masked Vigilante, I think they call him. Whatever it's called, it's V from V for Vendetta, and that figure is another example of how awesome these third-party companies are. And it's a character that like no one else was giving us for some reason, but Bullethead, whoever they are, came along and made this amazing V figure. And it turns out Rorschach is not going to be lonely, because I'm going to have him right alongside this V figure, and it's going to be like my Alan Moore section of my collection. So I'm looking forward to that.
And then last but not least, we have Marvel Legends Bucky Cap and Marvel Legends Pizza Spider-Man.
And you could tell that the body under the clothing has some really good articulation, but there are some restrictions because of all the layers of soft goods. But I would say that for the most part, you could get this figure into pretty much any pose that you could think of for a character like Rorschach. The only pose that comes to mind that I wasn't able to achieve is the one where he's kind of crouched down and perched on that banister or railing or whatever it was when he was going into the comedian's apartment to investigate a little bit. That's one pose that I was trying to get him into that I couldn't quite achieve. But aside from that, any pose that comes to mind for Rorschach, this figure is capable of. So I'm really happy with the articulation on this guy. But let's go ahead and get into it, starting off with the head. So the head and the neck are one piece, and that means we're only going to get articulation at the lower neck. But using that, we get some pretty nice tilt. He could look up to about right there, which is not a whole lot. And then he could look down to right there, which is actually pretty impressive. But if you go down further than that, his head is going to pop off. And then obviously he can look side to side. So the head and neck area is a little restricted because of the design, but still I think there's enough here to get some pretty expressive poses. So I'm okay with it. And then for the torso, we do have a diaphragm cut with the ball joint and a waist ball joint. And using both of those, he can crunch forward a crazy amount even with all these soft goods. Look at that. That's all torso right there. So that is super impressive. And then we get some side to side, which is nice. And then he could go back to about right there. And then you are able to twist at the waist a pretty good amount. You can't really twist at the diaphragm. Most of the twist is going to come from the waist. But look at that. That is really good. Nice. And then for the arms, we do have some butterfly joints. And the butterfly joints get some pretty good range going back. And you could kind of cock his arm up and make it look like he's getting ready to throw a punch. And yeah, you get some pretty nice movement out of these butterfly joints, even with all the clothing. So that's pretty good stuff there. Then you could get his arms in front of him a really good amount. It's kind of hard to get both at the same time because then it kind of starts to pull on the jacket a little bit. But still, that's pretty good. But yeah, look at that. Awesome stuff. And then he does have ball jointed shoulders as well. So check this out. I was really impressed with the amount that his arms were able to come up even with all these soft goods. Oh God, I got his arm twisted around a little bit. But yeah, look at this. Again, he has a jacket and all kinds of stuff going on, but still you're able to get his arms up really high. And the soft goods are very durable. Like, I'm messing with this figure a lot, and there's no fear that I'm going to damage the soft goods whatsoever. It's all holding up very well. But look at that. Look how high his arms can get. That is crazy. If you put one arm down, you could go even higher. That is very impressive. And then you could get his arms out to the side to about right there, which is really nice. You could probably even get him higher. Yeah, look at that. Damn. And then he does have upper bicep swivel. He's got really nice double jointed elbows. Look at this. Boom. Look at that. Awesome stuff. Damn. And then at the wrist, we do have a ball joint. And you are able to swivel the ball joint around, but it's kind of tight. But you can swivel at the hand itself, and then we do have a hinge. But if you want to rotate that around, you need to be very careful. And then for the legs, he can kick forward to about right there, which is not a whole lot, because the pants are a little tight. You can bring them back to about right there. And then you could kick his leg out to the side, only to about right there. So it's not a whole lot. I feel like the body could definitely get a little bit more than that, but it is restricted by the pants. And then he does have an upper thigh swivel, but it is pretty tight, so you want to be careful there. And then he has double jointed knees. Bam, look at that. That is awesome. Then at the foot, we have a ball joint, so we get some rocking ankles. You can bring his foot forward to right there and bring it up to right there and then move it side to side. So yeah, again, all things considered, the articulation on this guy is super impressive. And he's a whole lot of fun to play with. You don't have to worry about damaging the clothing. You know, as you can see, I'm kind of like reckless with it, just messing with it quite a bit, and there's no fear that anything's going to get damaged. These soft goods are very nice, and they hold up well when utilizing the articulation. So it's very fun to play with, and I'm super impressed with the amount of range the joints have, even with the restrictions caused by the layers of clothing. It's very, very impressive. Alright guys, so this little outro, final thoughts portion of the video is going to be a little tough for me because honestly, I'm having trouble finding the words to accurately describe how I feel about this figure. But overall, at the end of the day, when the smoke clears, the dust settles, and it's all said and done, this is truly an amazing figure. I think that's the best way I could put it. Just everything about this guy is so well done. Just, man, I'm so satisfied with this figure. Just, they did such a great job with everything. just kind of run through everything really quick. So the articulation is really nice, even though he does have a bunch of restrictions because of the soft goods. You're still able to pose the figure around and have a lot of fun with it. And I think a big thing that contributes to the fun factor when dealing with the articulation is the durability of the soft goods. I've been posing this figure around, messing with it, pushing the articulation, doing all kinds of stuff, and I've had zero fear of the soft goods getting damaged whatsoever. They're extremely durable. They're holding up to all my crazy posing and messing around and just like I push figures to the limits. I do the best I can to check everything out and just see how everything works, and the soft goods have been holding up extremely well. And you can't say that for all figures that have soft goods. A lot of times you have to be very careful. You don't want to push things because you might tear something or make a thread come loose or just mess things up. But in Rorschach's case, you don't have to worry about it. And another thing too is that when it comes to 1/12 scale figures with soft goods, it's kind of hard to get things tailored perfect. Things often look a little big or just off. But in Rorschach's case, that kind of stuff kind of works to his benefit, because in my mind, the character is a small guy that wears this big crazy clothes, and he kind of always looks disheveled and messed up. And like the fact that 1/12 scale stuff is hard to do with soft goods and it kind of always looks like that works to this figure's benefit. I'm not saying like it looks sloppy or anything, but I'm just saying when it comes to 1/12 scale figures, everyone has trouble with the tailoring and getting it perfect. But in Rorschach's case, it doesn't necessarily have to be perfect to be perfect. Like, it works just the way it is, and I think the looseness of the jacket just kind of benefits the design of the character, So I think that's something that's unique to Rorschach, and it just looks nice. And then as far as the accessories go, he pretty much comes with everything that you would possibly want with the character. The one thing I wish that he had that he doesn't is an unmasked Walter Kovac head that had him screaming, kind of like the last scene in the movie or in the comic where, not the last scene, but his last scene. It would have been nice to be able to recreate that. But aside from that, he comes with every single accessory that you could possibly want. And yeah, man, I don't know what else to say. This thing is freaking amazing. And if you're a fan of Watchmen or Rorschach as a character specifically, I feel like this is a must-have, because we don't have a whole lot of options for figures of this character. But even if we did, if every other company out there made Rorschach figures, I really doubt that any of them could make one as good as this, because pretty much everything on this guy is perfection. So I'm really satisfied with it, and I'm happy to say that because, like I said, it does come from a third-party company, and you never quite know what to expect from something like that. But this guy definitely exceeded all expectations. It feels very high quality. I am having one issue with the wrist pegs. When I pull the hands off carelessly, the wrist peg kind of it comes apart. It's not breaking or anything, but half of the peg kind of gets stuck in the hand, and then I gotta attach it back to the wrist. It's not a big deal at all, but it is something that's happening. Aside from that, this figure feels extremely high quality, and yeah, man, I just love it. That's really all I could say. I'm kind of like baffled or kind of like at a loss for words. It's tough to describe how awesome this thing is. But like I said, if you're a fan of Rorschach, I suggest jumping on this guy sooner rather than later. And with that, I think that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Also, be sure to hit the bell notification so you know every time that I go live. If you're not aware, I do go live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. and every Friday at 7 p.m. So come through, let's talk about toys and get weird. Thank you very much. Peace.